Good afternoon, friends. I hope all of you are well and safe. I have an opening statement. I shall read the statement and thereafter take your questions. There are no surprises in the 10-page press note issued by the National Statistical Office on the provisional estimates of annual national income for 2020-21. As expected, the GDP at constant prices recorded a negative growth of minus 7.3%. The first time India has recorded negative annual growth since 1979-80. Three numbers of GDP at constant prices will highlight the parlous state of the economy. In 2018-19, GDP was 140 lakh crore. In 2019-20, it was 145.69 lakh crore. And in 2020-21, it was 135.12 lakh crore. The increase in 2019-20 was modest at 4%, but the decline in 2020-21 was severe at minus 7.3%. The net result is that the GDP in 2020-21 is lower than the GDP of 2 years ago. That is, it is lower than the GDP of 2018-19. 2020-21 has been the darkest year of the economy in 4 decades. The performance in the 4 quarters of 2020-21 tells the story. The first 2 quarters witnessed a recession, minus 24.4% and minus 7.4%. The performance in the third and fourth quarters did not herald a recovery. The estimated rates of 0.5% and 1.6% were due to a very low base of 3.3 and 3.0% in the corresponding quarters of the previous year. Besides, these rates come with a number of caveats. When the first wave of the pandemic appeared to subside last year, the finance minister and her chief economic advisor began to sell the story of a recovery. They saw what they called green shoots when no one else did. They predicted a V-shaped recovery. It was a false story, and we had expressed our strong reservations and warned there were no signs of a recovery. We had pointed out that what the economy needed was a strong dose of stimulus, including increased government expenditure, direct transfers of cash to the poor, and liberal distribution of free rations. Our pleas fell on deaf ears, and the result is a negative growth of minus 7.3%. What is most worrying is that the per capita GDP has fallen below rupees 1 lakh. It has fallen to rupees 99,694. In percentage terms, it is a decline of minus 8.2% over the previous year. It is lower than the level achieved in 2018-19 and maybe even lower than 2017-18. The deeply worrying conclusion is that most Indians are poorer than they were 2 years ago. Let me repeat that. Most Indians are poorer than they were 2 years ago. The press note of the NSO reveals that in respect of most economic indicators, they are worse than what they were 2 years ago. Examples are private consumption, gross fixed capital formation, exports, and imports. The current state of the economy is no doubt largely due to the impact of the pandemic but it has been compounded by the ineptitude and incompetent economic management of the BJP-led NDA government. Good advice by distinguished economists and renowned institutions has been rebuffed. Worldwide experience has been ignored. Suggestions on fiscal expansion and cash transfers have been turned down. Hollow packages like Atmanirbhar have fallen flat. We are glad that the two leading chambers of commerce and industry, the CII and FICCI, have in the last few days echoed our views and pleaded for fiscal expansion, including cash transfers to the poor. The RBI's monthly review has flagged the demand shock and its consequences. The CMIE report on loss of jobs and growing unemployment is alarming. The research and survey reports of Aziz Premji University have concluded that 23 crore people have been pushed below the poverty line and into indebtedness. We may note that Nobel laureate Dr. Abhijit Banerjee has called for printing money and increasing spending. Yet, even as recently as yesterday morning, the finance minister gave a long interview to some newspapers defending her misguided and disastrous policies. The second wave of the pandemic is upon us. So far, it seems to be following the same pattern as the first wave, except that it has wrought more damage in terms of numbers of infections and deaths. If 2021-22 should not go the same way as 2021 did, the government must wake up, admit its errors of commission and omission, reverse its policies, and heed the advice of economists and the opposition. Thank you. I'm willing to take your questions.
Thank you, sir. Please indicate your question.
सर पूछूं जैनेंद्र
जी पूछें।
जी चिदम्बरम सर, मेरा सवाल है कि जैसा आपने अपने स्टेटमेंट में भी कहा कि कुछ अर्थशास्त्रियों ने सरकार को नोट प्रिंट करने का सुझाव दिया है, आपकी क्या राय है? क्या आप भी इस सुझाव के फेवर में हैं कि मौजूदा परिस्थिति में सरकार को प्रिंट करना चाहिए करेंसी?
Yes, if necessary, the government must print money. We have the space and the sovereign right to print money. And if at any point the government feels that too much money has been printed, it can always stop printing money. But at the moment, I think printing money is clearly advised. And I'm very happy that someone so distinguished as Dr. Abhijit Banerjee has supported the idea. There are many other economists who have recommended that government must print money to support its expenditure.
Thank you, sir. I'll move to the next one. Supriya Bhardwaj from TV9.
Good afternoon, sir. The question is in connection with the job. There are reports which are suggesting that approximately 1 crore jobs have been lost ever since the pandemic started since last year. And at the same time, also, what's your take on the situation of income being reduced in various sectors and what you have just mentioned, 23 crore people being pushed below poverty line?
Yeah, all these are clear indicators that the economy is in dire straits. The CMIE is the only reliable periodic report that we get on employment and unemployment. They have highlighted, and Mr. Mahesh Vyas has come on several shows to say, two things are absolutely true. One, the labor force participation rate is declining and unemployment is growing. I've given out the figures in my column last Sunday. Unemployment has now crossed 11%. And this is a fact. Azim Premji University research shows that 23 crore people may have been pushed below the poverty line. Now, this almost completely wipes out the 27 crore people who were lifted out of poverty in the 10-year period 2004-5 to 14-15, as reported by the World Bank. So what do we have today? We have a labor force participation which is declining, unemployment which is growing, both urban and rural, and more people falling below the poverty line and borrowing money. Now, all this points to deep misery among the poor people. Yes, the very rich have become very rich. The upper middle class is comfortable behind its gated communities, but the middle class, what we call the lower middle class, and the poor have been greatly affected, and this government is no concern. What did the Prime Minister say in his Mann Ki Baat? He said we are giving free rations of 5 kilograms to each person. Now, what does that amount to? It amounts to 32 rupees per capita per month. Does the situation require a relief of only 32 rupees per person? That is why we say cash transfers must be done. And I find more and more writers, more and more economists are supporting cash transfers. There are ways in which cash can be transferred. But this government is completely insensitive, completely impervious to what the lower middle class and the poor are going through. They seem to be quite happy because the stock market is booming and the existing billionaires have added more billions to their wealth.
Thank you, sir. I'll move to the next one. Jigish from Hindu Business Line.
Good morning, sir. So what will be the impact on this deficit on the healthcare? I mean, announcement made in budget and later on the healthcare sector, like vaccination and other programs. What do you think will be the impact of this?
You see, this is not the time to worry about the fiscal deficit. For 21-22, they have projected a fiscal deficit of about 5.5. What if it becomes 6.5? So what? According to me, it won't make any difference at all. It should not make any difference. It should not stop us. What we need is we can't lose another year like we lost the whole of last year. And I'm afraid the way this government is reacting, it's going to lose another year. Fortunately, we are only in the beginning of June, the first day of June. We still have 10 months. This is the time to act. This is the time to act boldly and decisively. Borrow and spend. If necessary, print money and spend. Spend on healthcare. Spend on infrastructure. But spend. And as part of spending, spend on welfare measures also, which today means cash transfers plus distribution of rations without a price.
Okay, sir. Siddharth from ANI.
नमस्कार सर।
नमस्कार।
ये है कि जो आप सुझाव दे रहे हैं, अगर सरकार उनको मानती है, पहली बात तो अगर मान लेती है तो कब तक, अगर वो मानती भी है तो कब तक इकोनॉमी स्ट्रीमलाइन हो पाएगी? और दूसरा, झारखंड के चीफ मिनिस्टर ने प्राइम मिनिस्टर को ये लेटर लिखा है कि वैक्सीनेशन प्रोग्राम नहीं कर पाएंगे वो अंडर 45 एज के लोगों का, क्योंकि फाइनेंशियल क्रंच स्टेट झेल रही है, क्योंकि जीएसटी का पैसा उन लोगों को पहले नहीं मिल रहा था, फाइनेंशियल क्रंच झेल रही है। तो इस ओवरऑल सिचुएशन का इम्पैक्ट वैक्सीनेशन पे भी पड़ेगा क्या?
No, I've understood the part about vaccination. I've understood the part about GST compensation not being given to the states on time. Is there any other aspect, Pranav?
Sir, the first question that he wants to ask is that the suggestion that you are proposing, if government were to implement them, how long do you think, in your estimate, things are going to get normal? How long will it take?
No one can predict when things will get better, because we don't know whether there will be a third wave or a fourth wave. All that we can say is, if you don't do the steps that we are advocating, things will not get better. On that, I'm absolutely sure. It's only if you do the things that we are advocating, things will get better, or things have a chance to get better. Would you rather keep quiet, sit on your haunches and do nothing, and allow whatever will happen to happen? It's much better to do something which has a chance of success rather than do nothing, which will certainly result in disaster. That is why a number of people are recommending take steps, bold, decisive steps now, and try to see whether you can ward off a greater disaster. If there is a third wave and a fourth wave, unless you take steps now, how will you prevent the consequences of a third wave or a fourth wave? This is the mistake they made last year. They did not take the steps that we advocated should be taken. And when the second wave came, they were unprepared, both on the health infrastructure side and on the economic management side. On GST compensation, I have had a discussion about what happened in the GST Council. I think the finance minister treated the members of the GST Council with disdain. I think she just heard them and finally took no decisions. They've appointed a group of ministers to recommend on whether GST rate should be reduced on COVID-related medicine and equipment. That's a decision that should have been taken on the day they met. That's a decision that should not have taken more than 10 or 15 minutes to take. Instead of that, they have relegated to a group of ministers which will give its report on the 8th of June. I think this is called procrastination. This is called not taking a decision. And then on all other issues, she has given a short shrift. She has not responded at all. What did the meeting achieve? What is the outcome of the meeting? Zilch. You meet after 6 months, you hold a futile meeting, come out with a zilch outcome, and then say, I will consider calling a next meeting 3 months later. Well, why 3 months later? If the report of the GOM is coming on the June of 8th, you should call a meeting on the 9th of June. The law only says you must have one meeting every 3 months. That doesn't mean you must have only one meeting in 3 months. You can have 2 meetings, you can have 3 meetings, you can have a meeting every month. I think the GST Council is being treated with complete disdain and contempt by the finance minister.
And the part of the question was also, sir, that the CM from Jharkhand is saying that he'll be unable to vaccinate people below 44 years. CM from Jharkhand is saying that he'll be unable to vaccinate people below 44 years because he doesn't have money.
It's absolutely correct.
Yes.
Say, for example, some states have no vaccine. For example, Tamil Nadu will suspend vaccines from tomorrow for 4 days because they have no stocks of vaccines. And the next stock, central government has told them, will come only on the morning of the 6th of June. So they will not vaccinate anyone on 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and they will vaccinate only on the 6th because there is a shortage of vaccines. Some states like Jharkhand, they've run out of money. You don't give them the GST compensation of last year. Please read the finance minister's interview in the newspapers which were published yesterday. She has admitted that there is pending GST compensation of last year, which has not been paid, and she hopes to pay it this year. She should pay it immediately so that a state like Jharkhand can vaccinate people without money in some states, without vaccines in some states. How will you vaccinate the people of India?
Thank you, sir. I'll move to the next one. Premanshu from Anandu Bazar.
Sir, what the chief economic advisor is saying that the economic impact of the second wave that will be much less than the first wave. Do you agree with that view? And When you are talking about this fiscal expansion, what are the avenues you are asking for that? Because the finance minister is already saying that they are already spending all the infrastructure in the national infrastructure pipeline, and the budget proposals are yet to kick in completely. So what more you are asking there?
A number of questions arise. We are now on June 1. The budget was presented on February 1. Expenditure should have started on April 1. They had February and March to prepare, April and May to spend. After 4 months, if a government can, without blinking an eye, say, budget proposals are yet to kick in, I want to know, what are they doing? Are they sleeping on the job? Coming back to the chief economic advisor, what did he say last year? There'll be a V-shaped recovery. Where is the V-shaped recovery? Is 0.5 in the third quarter and 1.6 in the fourth quarter, a V-shaped recovery. The first two declines, remember, were minus 24.4 and minus 7.4. On the one hand, you have minus 24.4 and minus 7.4. On the other hand, you've got 0.5 and 1.6. Is that a V-shaped recovery? I don't think anyone or any economist I know takes the chief economic advisor's words very seriously.
Thank you, sir. Amlendu Bhushanji.
Sir, 48 lakh government employee, central government employee, and 55 lakh pensioner, central government pensioners, including state government employee, ये जीडीपी के डिक्लाइनेशन में इनका मनी ट्रांजैक्शन, सैलरी ट्रांजैक्शन क्या इफेक्ट डाल रहा है?
What, the pensions are not being given to them? I don't know. I have not heard or read anything about pensions not being given. But if pensions must be given, they should be given on the due date every month. I have not heard of pensions not being given, so I really can't comment further.
मैं पेंशनर को पेंशन देने की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ. जो भी पेंशन मिलता है, क्या वो लोग खर्च नहीं कर पा रहे हैं? गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉई खर्च नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, जिसके कारण ये जीडीपी में असर पड़ रहा है.
What is the question, Prana?
As much as I've understood, sir, he's saying that the pensioners who get money, is it that they are unable to spend those money? Why is it not reflecting in the economy?
Why are they not able to spend? Anyway, I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
Due to uncertainty of economy and government position.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
He's saying that people are sitting over money because of uncertainty in their future, maybe.
No. They are, of course, they are not spending, but that doesn't mean they're not spending on absolute essentials like food and rent and medicine. They are spending, but they are not spending the surplus they may have because of uncertainty, which is why savings are growing. So that is absolutely true. When there is uncertainty, people will hesitate to spend. But that's a fact of life. Yes, okay. Next question, please.
Yeah, and moving to the next one, Rakesh Kapoorji.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Good day, Mr. Chidambaram.
Good day.
My question is that I am quoting you from your column across the SLA.
Yes.
That you have mentioned and you have warned or cautioned the country that the condition of the people of the country, under the prevailing economic conditions of the country, it will be worse than it should be. Inequality will increase and the vast majority of the people will be poorer, deeper in the debt and unhappy. And you have come to the conclusion that during the last 3 years, it is the output loss is 20 lakh crores of rupees. And I sum up with this, that the it is my version that whatever we have gained during the 2005 to 2015, 27 crore people have come above the poverty line. We have lost and we have negated the whole the whole gain during this period. During the last 2 years, that the 23 crore people have come below the poverty line. So the short point I am trying to make is that under these conditions, the government's expenditure has come down, and it has come down. The overall expenditure is 2.3% more than the last year. So now under these conditions, the people of country need financial help. Not monetarily, the government has given the monetary help, but the financial help is needed. And according to your version, sir, you have never proven wrong. So far, the economic front of this country is concerned. I know you since the days of the Narasimha Rao government, when you were the MOS Waniji. So now your caution and your warning is coming through that under the because the economy has contracted 7.5% in the 2020-21, and it will take minimum 3 years to cover the last 4% growth rate of 2018-2019. So my point is that it is the time that the government should assist people, empower people financially.
Well, I'm glad you agree with me on most of the points I made in my column. Yes. And most of the points that I made today in my opening statement. I'm grateful to you. But all that we can do is speak and write and advise. All that we can do is point to data. I'm pointing to data put out by the CMIE, data put out by the NSO, data put out by the Azim Premji University. But if the government ministers are both visually challenged and hearing challenged, they don't see, they don't read, they don't hear, what is it that we can do? But please see that the people of this country are paying and will pay a huge cost. Around us, there is anecdotal evidence, there is empirical evidence that people are poorer, people are borrowing more money, and when free food is distributed, you see people rushing to the centers where free food is distributed. Not only children, even adults are rushing. And these are not homeless people, these are otherwise people with some kind of a home. Even they are rushing for free food. Now all that points to a very dismal picture. What is it we can do except speak and write and shout at the top of our voices, which is what we are doing. They don't want to call parliament. They don't want to call a parliamentary committee. They don't want to call a meeting of opposition leaders. Therefore, I think you in the media have a huge responsibility to highlight these issues. I'm happy to note there were a couple of editorials yesterday and today which have come down hard on the government, both on the GST Council meeting and on their national statistics figures. And I hope we have to keep the pressure. What they will do, I can't say. But all I know is that the people are suffering.
Sir, one supplementary. Sir, the point is, my emphasis was on where do the people need the financial assistance or financial...
Yes, I've said so.
Yes.
They need cash transfers. They need free rations. The poor must be given cash transfers. They must be given free rations. To give 5 kilo per person for 2 months is pittance. It works out to 32 rupees a month. That's pittance. What they need is more liberal free rations and more cash transfers. Sir, we are very clear about it.
Sir, if the loss is 20 lakh crore rupees, if we take the 1:4 ratio, that the government need to financially assist minimum 5 lakh crore rupees. They have to pump minimum 5 lakh crore rupees into economy. Is it right or wrong?
I have not done the calculation based on the assumptions,
Yes.
but if the Congress was in government or there was a Congress-led government, we would have certainly found the money for cash transfer and for distributing free rations. We would have certainly found the money. Fiscal deficit would not be a deterrent.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. You
Thank
have
you.
heard me a lot.
I'll move to the next one. Samya, I'm coming to you
Please.
next. Sunil Prabhu.
Sir, I just, of late I've been listening to ministers who have given that, apart from the false narrative that the Congress has been putting out, they're saying that you propagated vaccine hesitancy. If we see all business houses, all corporate houses, all various other people, the focus has been vaccination, vaccination, vaccination. They are now accusing the Congress party and its leaders of promoting vaccine hesitancy and ensuring a narrative which has now led to this entire problem. And are you hopeful of this big pronouncements that are being made by end of December? Everybody will be vaccinated, or there will be enough of vaccines for them. Does that work out in reality?
All right. Let me answer the first part. Show me one line I've written or one word I have said, which promotes vaccine hesitancy. I have been among the first people to say universal vaccination. The Congress party's CWC resolution talked about universal free vaccination. Show us who has said this vaccine is bad or this vaccine should not be taken. Nobody responsible in the Congress has said that. This theory of vaccine hesitancy is a big fake story. Show me one line I've written, and I write every week. Show me one word I've said. I've addressed press conferences and I speak for the Congress party. Show me one line in the CWC resolution which even remotely hints at vaccine hesitancy. So that's a lie. So please ignore that. Don't repeat that story again and again that the Congress promoted vaccine hesitancy. Now, on the second issue, I have already asked that the two domestic manufacturers must disclose what their capacity is, what their actual production is, and what their actual delivery and dispatch is, and whom they deliver to. I'm not questioning their motives or actions. I just want an account. You tell us what you actually produced every month, what you actually dispatched every month, and tell us who your list of customers are: central government, state government, private hospitals, private corporates. That's all we're asking. Not only are we asking, the Supreme Court has asked them yesterday. Yesterday also, they told the Supreme Court by the end of December 31 would have vaccinated everybody. Now that means they need 200 crore vaccines for 100 crore people. They've already vaccinated, say, about 20 crore people. Many once and some twice. So they need close to 200 crore vaccines. Now I wish them well, let them get the 200 crore vaccines, but let them tell, if not us, let them tell the Supreme Court, every month how many vaccines will they get? If there is an uninterrupted supply of vaccines, why does the Tamil Nadu government officially suspend vaccination on 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th of June? Tamil Nadu government is not a banana government, it's a responsible government.
Okay, sir, I'll move to the next one. Samya.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Sir, while we're talking of vaccination shortage at several states, there are reports of vaccine wastage coming from Rajasthan, where several districts have witnessed hundreds of vials being found in the garbage. There's an audit being ordered as well. So what do you have to say about it? My second question to you is pertaining to the CBSE, sir. The education minister so far has not taken a call.
No, let's not go into CBSE. Let's confine ourselves to the economy and vaccines. All right. Vaccine wastage is unacceptable. In the initial days, there were some vaccines were indeed wasted. I asked the dean of the medical college in my constituency, Medical College Hospital, and he told me the reason. You open a vaccine, a vial, It has got 10 doses. Suppose only 8 people turn up on that day to vaccinate themselves. The remaining 2 doses had to be wasted in the first few days. Then what he did was, this particular dean, he lined up government servants in the collectorate, etc., lined up a reserve list of persons. And when he had 2 doses remaining at the end of the day, after 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. in the evening, he made sure he sent a car or van, brought those government servants and vaccinated them. So vaccine wastage has come down dramatically in many states. There will be some wastage in storage, in transport, in doses being left out, etc., etc. Some vials, I think Covaxin vial comes with 20 doses. So if 16 people turn up and 4 doses will be wasted. So some vaccine wastage is allowed even by the central government. But if the wastage is far above the norm, far above the allowed percentage, it certainly must be inquired into. It is negligence or incompetence, and people must be held accountable. We are not supporting vaccine wastage at all. But to accuse a government like Chhattisgarh that it is wasting 36% vaccines, and Chhattisgarh replies by saying, my wastage is well within the norm of 3%. Now, where is the missing 33% vaccines? The accuser says 36% wastage. The government says, no, wastage is only 3%. So where is the missing 33%? Which is why I wanted an audit. What was produced? There are only 2 manufacturers in India. What was actually produced every month? What was actually dispatched? And who it was dispatched to? Why don't they do an audit and give us those numbers? Anyway, they'll have to give the numbers to the Supreme Court, I think, now.
Right, sir. I'll take the last question. Abdul Bari Masood. Abdul Bari ji. Is there someone else left to ask?
Hello, sir.
If he's not there, is any other question?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Hello, sir. Good
Yes.
afternoon.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
My simple question is that how government splurge is responsible for the dire state of economy?
The government is not splurging is our case. Look at capital expenditure last year in 2020-21. That numbers have been put out by the NSO. And the NSO numbers clearly show that capital expenditure against estimates and revised estimates and actual expenditure is a very modest number. The government is not spending enough is our complaint. Not that government is spending. Government is wastefully spending, according to us, in the Central Vista project. It is wastefully spending in some other vanity schemes. I'm not getting to the legality of them. I think it's a waste, be that as it may. Our complaint is government is not spending where it should be spending.
Thank you, sir. I think you have answered all the questions. This is all.
Not spending. Government is wastefully spending, according to us, in the Central Vista project. It is wastefully spending in some other vanity schemes. I'm not getting to the legality of them. I think it's a waste, be that as it may. Our complaint is government is not spending where it should be spending.
नमस्कार, मैं हूं मानक गुप्ता। अगर आपको हमारा ये वीडियो पसंद आया हो तो इसे लाइक और शेयर जरूर करें और हाँ, हमें सब्सक्राइब और फॉलो करना ना भूलें ताकि आप देश और दुनिया की कोई खबर मिस ना करें। तो जुड़े रहिए हमारे साथ और देखते रहिए News24।